How's it going, guys? I'm Sarcastic with the Hyperloops. So today's vlog is going to partially kind of say the same stuff as the write-up I'm doing. I'm going to expand that into how this kind of affects deck building and whatnot, and I'll see if I can write the time frame to skip into to get to that section if you read the article and just don't care about the generic stuff at the beginning. So today I kind of want to talk about like quality of life adjustments, and I don't have a real definition for what that is, but just kind of think of the stuff you do in everyday life. So like, let's say you take a shower very often, okay, and you always have an issue reaching the middle of your back to scrub it. So a quality of life adjustment, you'd get like one of those back scratcher thingies, so that, you know, it has like whatever thing on it, you soap it up, you can reach back there, scrub down, good to go. Quality of life adjustment, you always scrub down your feet and you have problems balancing, so, you know, you would install like a metal bar in the shower so that you can grab onto it this way when you put your foot up to soap or whatever, you can, you know, have access to it. So quality of life adjustments I want to talk about right now are kind of with the website and what we do as a whole. So we kind of just wing it for the most part with what we think would be good stuff to hear about, stuff that would be helpful for learning the game better, you know, making yourself better, thinking, theorizing, and play, blah, blah, blah. So I guess what I want to do is I want to hear back from you guys. You know, what do you like? What do you hate? What would you like us to see from us? What would you like to see more of that you haven't seen in a long while? Stuff like that. So pretty much open submission. Write it here as a comment on the YouTube. Write it as part, you know, a comment on the article. The ones I would personally avoid. So if you go to the Hyperloops page and you comment on the article subset, I think that one's perfectly fine. Commenting on the Facebook post to the main Destiny groups, in theory is fine. It's just really hard for us to kind of find that. Whoever ends up sharing it has much easier access to it. So like, let's say I don't end up sharing this, you write stuff, I may not ever see it if I can't really find it, because that page can get, you know, really long and stuff gets pushed down, especially if I'm looking, you know, to find it 2 or 3 days later, 6 months, whatever. So commenting here on the YouTube channel, our main website, potentially the Reddit when we share it, those would all be much better, and the main Facebook page would all be much better than commenting on the SW Destiny, or the main Star Wars Destiny group, or the discussions group ones. But comment wherever you want. We'll do our best or I'll do my best to try to check into it and make them, you know, key points for the ones that sound great, and kind of get those adjusted. So like, quickly going over some of that stuff. So we are human. Sometimes we do lack motivation to get stuff done. I've had a couple of ideas that I felt were amazing, and then as I'm writing the stuff, you know, 3 hours in, because I do a lot of my writing at work, and I get distracted, so then like the train of thought goes away, and you may feel that in some of my articles where like it seems like I'm on pace for something solid, and then it's like, all right, gonna expand it on, and then it kind of ends or dies, and it's like, what happened? Because usually I get distracted, and once I get distracted, like I kind of forget where I was and it just fall off. But so hearing appreciation from you guys, honestly, is really a huge thing for motivation. We get tired of this sometimes, you know. It's not necessarily a thankless job, because like the thing is that we do get things, and we have like the whole Patreon thing, so we have money coming in from that. Like the main website is actually free, and we don't put advertising on it. I think there's some advertising on YouTube, but it's pretty generic, and I think there was maybe like $100 made all of last year or something like that. But anyways, that doesn't actually matter. So you know, we get tired of it. There were several times we've considered scaling back to 3 days a week, but we've more or less stuck with the 5 days a week thing. In the future, who knows what happens, but I felt it was something great for the community, and not all of the content creators put out, you know, things daily, I guess I'd say. So it's huge for me to feel that like there's enough content out there, and there's some of you guys that just consume content and then just constantly need it and just looking for anything that comes out, and you guys are monstrous animals. I don't know how you eat that much content. But yeah, so anytime we hear thanks, you know, whatever, the likes on the posts, it goes a long way to pretty much, you know, kind of saying, hey, you know, good job there, keep it up, you know, any sort of like motivation. It does go a long way, and I just wanted to point that out. Like, I'm not sitting there saying, hey, give us likes and whatever, like we need them. Like, realistically, a bunch of likes on the Facebook pages or YouTube's not gonna break too much in the long run, and this is mainly from like a motivational standpoint, but do let us know what you like, so we can continue with it, because if there's just stuff you're not really big fans of, no one's actually a fan of it, you know, we probably just kind of stop wasting the time on it, unless we ourselves really want to, because it's really hard to gauge. So like the best of threes a long time ago, you know, we used to post those and we'd have really low amounts of hits, no real comments. We didn't really know like what, you know, if people liked it, what was wrong with it, what was going on. We pretty much need feedback in order to make adjustments and make things better. And then quickly, the feedback thing is a huge thing for deck building. So just think when you play your deck. So if you play your deck and you don't have thoughts about playing your deck, you know, what was good, what wasn't good, you know, what adjustments to make, like, you won't be able, actually, I guess what adjustments to make is based on the feedback, sorry. But like, yeah, if you don't go, all right, you know, this feels great, this feels terrible, you're not going to be able to be like, all right, isolation has been dead every game in the last 20 games. This has to go. Feel Your Anger has worked once in, you know, 7 games. And it was a blowout, but it was once in 7 games. Do I want it for this, for that purpose? Easy pickings. I never get to use easy pickings. Everyone sees Yellow Hero and they're just like, screw this, I'm going to play around easy pickings. So then, like, the only time you get to use it is, you know, when the initial rollout hits, which with every character I think is minimum, sorry, every elite character is a 16% chance. And right now we're kind of looking at an elite format. So I'd say, like, you have a 30% chance per round to just be able to easy pick based on character dice being rolled out. And that's not with both sets of dice in the pool. That's just with each single one. But so yeah, like feedback is huge when you're deck building. It's huge for us as well. It gives us like a direction to go in. So yeah, definitely, you know, what you guys liked to see, what you'd like to see back. I know, or I feel like one of the better ones Bobby Sapphire used to do was the Who to Kill. And I don't remember what it was actually titled as, but I'm going with Who to Kill. And he would more or less explain like the common deck setups that you'd see and who you would normally want to target. So, like, normally speaking, in vehicles, you're like, alright, well, you know, Ayla's the damage dealer, I want to kill Ayla. But it's like, alright, well, if I kill Rose, they can't ramp out vehicles. And then all their M-Hawks, the ones that aren't down yet, pretty much die off because the taking 2 damage to roll that die out every time is brutal. And if you kill Ezra, you shut down easy pickings, potentially Phillips, and or garbage shoots. So there's different ways to attack that matchup, and if you haven't considered it, or don't know of it, like, you can often go into that matchup and almost make it an auto loss, because essentially you're doing it wrong. Like, if your opponent jams down 2 rally aids round 1, you probably don't even bother with Rose. They're going to get all the vehicles down. So killing Ezra to prevent their good removal makes sense, and then killing Ayla to lower their round by round damage would also make sense, because they're going to be able to feed out tons of items there, and then like A-list special can help flip stuff. So it's just like, okay, well, you know, these are options. So like that's one of his article types that I think he hasn't done in a long while. That would be great. But let's say one of you, you know, several of you people loved it, and you mentioned that, like, it probably would have been back in full swing. Or, you know, if I mentioned it, but I'm not going to mention it. Shh, can't tell him I read stuff. So, there's things like that, like the best of threes. It's hard for us to gauge, you know, what people want. And then just quickly to go about it, and this is going to be written in the article too. If you guys leave comments, what is it? I forget what's it, like, so we view them before they post to the website, but we don't do that in order to censor people. Because if you say, like, I hate you, I think you're an elitist piece of crap who doesn't know what he's saying, and you come up with something logical, it's gonna get approved. I'm gonna put that there because I don't care. The entire reasoning for the viewing of the messages prior to being posted is for all of the bullshit spam that comes in, because of like web crawlers and bot bullshit, and no one wants to see a bunch of comments talking about view my music at blah blah blah. Like, we try to get rid of that garbage real quick. So for the most part, all the messages have to get approved. We're not the greatest at approving stuff. Sometimes it'll take a day or two. So don't think that we just left it there to rot in hell. Put the comments in. We're gonna get to them. Usually we're pretty good about seeing them and responding. So yeah, just send those in. Negative ones, positive ones, whatever you want. Do us a favor though. Try to be relatively logical. If someone just goes fuck you and hits post, I might still post it, but that's just to show people that someone's ridiculous, and not because it's pertinent information to help grow. But if it was like, fuck you, now here's some logical stuff, alright, you're getting posted. Because the fuck you part, I don't care about it. I can ignore you. This is Massachusetts. We just fucking yell at each other all day. So get that stuff in, let me know. So negative wise, there's always going to be tons of stuff that people dislike, and I'd like to hear it, but I would also like to hear how to improve on it. Normally speaking, there's the dislikes are going to have some way of making them better. I don't have very many great examples, but like, trying to think what could. So like, I think someone once before, because we had the whole advertisement thing with the website at one point, where at the top of each article we had, you know, put in their advertisement, and we got feedback on that. People didn't like it because if they were trying to get a brief understanding of what, you know, that day's post was about, all it had was the advertisement every single time, so they would just have no idea. They'd have to go in. We eventually ended up breaking off from that because we didn't see any benefits for either side. But hearing back from that goes a long way towards making the adjustment. I think later on we might have moved it to like the middle of the page prior to the break off, or at least I had suggested it at one point, so that it's, you know, partway through the article, it pops up, okay, people can skip past it. If it stands out, people like it, they continue with it or follow it, whatever. But yeah, so there are always going to be negative criticisms that are going to be great, because that's life. We're all trying to grow and get better. Trying to think what else is there. Yeah, just let us know stuff you guys don't like, and hopefully, you know, we'll make some adjustments for the ones that we can. We moved the Patreon content stuff primarily to the bottom of the page, so that, you know, people see our end tag, you know, Honest Sarcastic with the tilde sign, or Bobby Sapphire, or NJ Cuenca, and that the article is pretty much done. So they don't have to go past that point. But if anyone else is curious about, you know, the writing we had down there, they're able to go read it, go check out the different links and stuff, and support us. So we do try to make stuff more pleasing to the eyes and more easy, you know, much easier. So do indeed let us know. I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again, but there's like different parts of information that are relatively pertinent. So we talked about kind of like bringing stuff back that you haven't seen in a while. Talked about like criticizing different things so we can make adjustments properly. And I guess the other thing is what do you guys see currently that you would like to see even more of? So that for the most part we do a lot of site stats to see like which pages are getting hits, you know, on a daily basis. So like we're gonna have 2,000 hits a day, and we're gonna kind of check through it, and you know, it gives us a sense of what's popular, what's not. But it could also just be like the title. So did we put a clickbait title that time, and did it get more clicks? I know I tend to ask questions in my titles more often than not, because that's just kind of how I do shit. Yeah, that's roughly how I do shit. So yeah, just let us know, because like I can't go fully by site stats. Like there may be only 300 people that'll hit a video up, but that's only that could be because in the video you have to expect to watch it. You need a certain amount of time. Whereas like these vlogs, you could just listen to, and you don't need to see me driving, unless you kind of want to see the stuff in the background and like that house. Like maybe there's a naked lady in that house, and you like zoom in and you see titties. Like who knows? And as you see, I get giddy because we're talking about titties. Titties. All right. I completely lost my train of thought. So I'm gonna need a moment of silence to regather my thoughts. So yeah, let us know like what we already do that you guys like and enjoy. So potentially we could do more of it, or attempt to make things more weekly based. We scrounge around for items to do at times. We'll forget about stuff that we used to do months ago. I've probably started some obscene amount of, this is going to be week 1, we have this thing coming up next. Oh my god, I forgot this. So like the rulings thing, I was going to break into how you like resolve dice for damage, how indirect works, force illusion, some available tricks on those, vibro knife, and then the new RRG came out, and I was like, oh well, they explained like all of it here, I don't need to do anything. And then I still see the same questions on the stuff. So I apparently have to repick that back up and adjust it and continue with it. So I'm going to try to get that done. We do have a lot of worlds testing coming up though. So I don't think we're going to scale back, but I could understand where if we don't put as much effort into this writing stuff, because it takes additional time. And we want to do well at Worlds. We'd like to win it. We got to win Bobo the Darksaber mat, because he loves the mat. And then we get to burn it in front of him. So, I guess 20 minutes in. See, 1911, alright. So, how this applies to deck building. And I actually forget. Hold on a second. So, the reason I came up with this quality life thing is because I do this with my workers, and pretty much with my fiance. Like every once in a while, every month, few months, you know, I'll stop, I'll talk with them, and I'll be like, all right, you know, with what's going on, like, what can we do better? What do you dislike, so we can attempt to go away from it? Do we have any goals or things we want to accomplish? Blah blah blah. And like a lot of this is to get things kind of out in the open. Because in your everyday life, there's always going to just be things you dislike. You don't often attempt to change them. And for me, that just kind of seems silly. If I'm at work and, you know, I'm always typing in all sorts of codes, and I was like, man, I wish I had a scanner or some sort of system for this so it was faster, I'm going to look into it. And if it's like not expensive, I'm going to make the adjustment, and I'm going to be much happier doing the things that I need to do. And this applies to regular life. And that's why I said I speak with my fiance about this, because like, we're always going to have little fights at home. It'll be like little silly stuff, and it'll be like, hey, can you know, rinse your plate better before you put it in the dishwasher? Can you not leave your cup out at the end of the night with juice in it because it sticks to the cup and it makes it a pain in the ass to clean? Can you not leave deli food in the fridge past a week because it expires and then smells funny? Like, these are small little things that you not even notice, because you're like, oh, found deli food that's old, let me throw it away, and then you throw it away. But like, little pet peeves for people. So now we're at 21, and we'll go adjust to the thing. Deck building, sorry. So deck building wise, now let's say I'm gonna just pick like Boba 7th, okay? So you play Boba 7th, and now we always have an adjusting meta for the most part. Even back during SOR, where it was primarily, you know, Rainbow Nines, which most people don't know about at the beginning, and Pol-Maz, the decks made adjustments over time. And like, this is outside of the whole RRG nerf. So beginning Pol-Maz had, you know, defensive positions and Duggins, thermals, Y-wings, you know, DO-44s, I think rockets. And like, end Pol-Maz was more about like cargo hold, and being like relatively stable. God, my nose is itchy, sorry. But it required answers to some more common issues in the meta. So they had like hyperspace jumps and retreats, because they would speed through their round, throw stuff, and then try to end the round. And like, functionally, those two decks were very, very different, because the early version was used to playing against other fast type decks, and it would jam its items down, hit and run, do whatever, fast claim, throw things, and occasionally, you know, defensive positions, dug in stuff, loft cat and mouse. It was all about being relatively quick and messing with the die or two, and staying alive that way. Like, near the end, there were very, very slow decks, pretty much from Rainbow Nines, and people made adjustments. They cargo holded to get shit away from FN, as well as, you know, potentially be able to kill the sub guy and get rid of that upgrade. The retreats and hyperspace jumps was because FN played relatively slowly. So the theory there was they'll chuck an item off of Maz, end the round, chuck another item, and be really far ahead at that point, because FN shouldn't have been able to do much. So like, these things will occur all of the time. So you have to sit down and think, okay, you know, I want to play Boba 7th. Now, Boba 7th is like, oh, this is a great deck, da-da-da-da. Now all of a sudden you're losing with Boba 7th. And you have a couple options here. You could just drop the deck completely and go to another deck, or you could be like, no, I really like Boba 7th. So, you know, what here is happening that is not good? Like, what adjustments can I make to the deck that will help my quality of life while I'm playing? Okay, so, you know, maybe you're running 2 doubts, 2 hidden motives, 2 he doesn't like yous. So you constantly are in a situation where you can operate with no resources, but you're finding at the end of some games you're flush with them, tons of resources, no way to use them. And then now, like, your removals is like, well, my removal is really great early game, but it's really questionable because doubts and hidden motives are only kind of like soft removal. They're not guaranteed to take the die out and make it useless. Like, sure, when you doubt an ancient lightsaber, you're not going to get it for 3. It's going to be resource, shield, or 1 damage, and that's with 66% of the die. But when you doubt an heirloom lightsaber that was showing a 2, 33% of the time you're taking 2 or 3, and then you still got 1 shield resource. So like, doubt there feels terrible. because you're scared. And I don't mean scared. You're scared as a bad thing. Like, it's because it's actually fucking scary. But hidden motive in that situation is vastly different, because if you hidden motive 50% of the time, you're gonna kill it and not taking any damage. With doubt, you're gonna kill it. Or I guess it's the same. With doubt, you're not gonna take damage 50% of the time, but they're still gonna have gotten something from it. With hidden motive, that 50% when it hits, they've gotten nothing. And then on doubt, you could take 2 or 3. Which would be brutal. On hidden motive, they would have to reroll and, you know, get to that side again, but they have access to the die. He doesn't like you, requires you to have a die. So it's like, so maybe you start to think, all right, well, I constantly have too many resources at the end of the game, and my removal is not good enough at that stage. So maybe I cut some other card or one of these 0-drop removals for like a 1-cost piece of removal. So somewhere early in the game, there are still ways for me to cast it if I can end up having a resource left over. And then late game, I actually have a solid piece of removal. Now, in general, they don't have access to like flank or anything, so like you'd be considering stuff like electroshock, mislead, isolation, overconfidence. But there's several just different options. You could have like subdue. I think it's subdue is the 1-cost one, where if the character's taking 3 damage or more, you can just kill one of their character upgrade dice. So, like, these are minor adjustments that don't have, like, a huge issue in the grand scheme of things, because if you switched, you know, a hidden motive or a doubt to the you know, piece of removal, then it's your removal stayed at the same number, but you've adjusted kind of like where your resource, like you have to resource management a little bit better, but you have more solid removal. So like that's a minor like quality of life adjustment in my mind, because you're gonna get to those games where if you go later, okay, now I can, you know, take out that Obi die instead of praying that it doesn't show up on one of the 3s when I doubt it, or praying that it shows up on one of the 3s when I hidden motive and call melee. And like these things are relatively small in the grand scheme, but they all add up at the end of a game. They end up at the end of a round, end of a tournament. Because if you end up having to doubt an Obi Saber, you had additional money. I mean, an Obi die, you doubt it, and a 3 comes up. When you had additional money, and that could have been like isolation. You know, since it's still alive, obviously. Then it's like shit. You know, like this could have been the card that would have fixed everything. And like there's other small ones like running Entangle or Mind Trick, but those all cost 2. So going from 0 to 2 could be much harder. But like going to a 1 is way easier. Obviously, making a lane change. So let's say you play. Let me think. Say you play Bro TK all the time, and now you're playing Bro TK, and you're always like, man, you know, I need more resource gain. There's a couple different options for you. You can run stuff like logistics. My original version had aftermath, but it's all based on like what you're playing. If you're always going first, you can run. I actually forgot the name of that card. There was a 0-cost red card that said if it was the first thing you cast, first action of the round, they got your resource. You play stuff like that. You play like Respite and like tap your Night Sister to draw a card and get a resource if you wanted her die to just, you know, nab your resource. So like there's always going to be minor adjustments. You kind of have to get a feel for the deck. Like, all right, you know, just try to think after each game what wasn't great, and I don't mean like in the match, like while you're playing, like what didn't feel amazing. Were you like short on resources all the time? Were you always low on damage? Were you know, not having the upgrades you always, or not having either specific upgrades you want, or like upgrades in general? Was your removal lacking? There's always going to be some things that's going on, so you kind of want to think about it and make very minor adjustments. And now the thing I'm saying is that you don't want to make those minor adjustments every single game, because you're going to have those games where you feel like you're strapped for resources the whole game. And you have to ask yourself, well, was I playing against like Hondo? Was I playing against a deck with a bunch of disrupts, salvage stands, whatever's going on? Because if you're playing against a more like resource choke type deck, then you can like kind of add it to the list of, all right, some minor issues with resources versus the resource choke deck, but like that's their intent anyways. If you crush them, then you don't really have to take it into consideration. If you lose to it, then you may want to get some further testing in to see if it's potentially something like a bad match. If it's a bad match, then maybe make an adjustment, put in like a truce or a well-connected, something of that sort. But I'm back on Boba 7, by the way, in case I didn't mention it. So like just there's just gonna be small stuff like that. Oh, you know, I don't have, I couldn't stick my ancient lightsaber, and I feel like I always need to stick ancient lightsaber. It's like, all right, well, are you running lightsaber pulls? Oh no, you're not. Like, well, why? Because if you feel like ancient lightsaber round 1 wins you the game every time, or Maul saber wins you the game when you land at round 1 every round, then you should, you know, potentially look into making that more readily available. Then there's always another one is consistency. How often do you find yourself having to re-roll with your, you know, pretty much your entire hand every round and still not being happy with your results? And now, when I'm saying not being happy, I'm not saying you need to roll 2s on every freaking die. That's not what I'm talking about. Like, there are going to be times where you're rolling 3 or 4 dice and you can't find anything that you find to be useful. So, in those situations, you have to ask yourself, all right, well, can I run anything, or if it's happening frequently enough, can I run anything that either A, gives me a couple extra cards in hand to re-roll with, like, you know, Trust Your Instincts, Balance Ambition, Bring Balance. Bring Balance is like this really janky hero card that lets you drop until you have the same number of cards your opponent has. It's really funny with Ray 1, but like everywhere else, it's pretty bad. So like, you just have to kind of think about the minor things, and kind of keep like a note of it. I wouldn't suggest keeping a mental note unless you're really well versed in card games, because you'll think of it now, but you may not think of it later. So if it occurs and you write it down and you have, you know, kind of like a log of your thoughts on the things, then later when you're ready to make adjustments after, you know, several rounds of testing, you can be like, all right, well, this is what I felt. It did not feel great, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I want versus vehicles, like I had the hardest time, but I always had a bunch of money. I'm playing some, you know, Hero Yellow deck. All right, well, let's try a hyperspace jump. It's not going to be amazing versus every deck, but, you know, there's this deck, that deck, and this deck, which is very good against. It'll be dead versus the other ones, but I need some help in these specific matchups, and I kind of expect this to be played to some extent in Top Cut. So this card can catch him off guard, I can blow him out, and you know, pretty much win the game. And it'll just be small stuff like that that'll go a really long way. And if you continually do that, you can find yourself playing with decks that may not have been the greatest when they started out. You know, Rainbow Nines did not start out as that fully completed version that was, you know, super smexy and crushing all the folks. I got thrashed constantly, but I knew there were very great things going on in the deck, so I tried to make those things more consistent. I took, you know, adjusted out the items that weren't so great, and I arrived at the promised land. Same thing happened with OTK. I saw what I felt was a viable combo. I thought he wasn't running the stuff that would make it more consistent, because he had Price of Failures, but didn't have, you know, oh shit, what the fuck, guy? So yeah, honest sarcastic with the did we die today? Did not die today. There was no guy to my left, and I was well aware of it, because I pay attention to the, I try to look at everything at all times, kind of like when you're playing a game. My brain's farting, 1 second. So, like, when you're playing at the game, you're always looking at the board at all times. I kind of want to know exactly what's happening to the left of me, to the right of me, behind me. I tend to stay out of the middle lanes because then I have to keep track of, like, a 3x3 grid. I say right or left, so I kind of get me and the person next to me. But that let me not die there. Or, yeah, I think I might have died if I let that guy smash into me. Because we are on a highway, or a pseudo-highway, and there are trucks. I'm gonna die, guys. I was gonna die. You might not have saw this video. So, yeah, we got like a couple minutes left. So, what was going on before? Death almost occurred? I think we're just talking about quality of life adjustment and making changes. So yeah, you can tweak up a deck for a really long period of time, and then kind of just get there with it. Qui-Gon Yoda, you know, those guys have been playing it for a while in Canada, and they made the adjustments that needed to be made, and apparently it's working smooth now. But yeah, so like Road TK was like the same thing. You know, we had the rainbow deck, it was real good, did whatever. And then it was just like, all right, well, you know, this isn't doing consistent enough. It's taking too long. I need it to be a little faster and more consistent damage-wise. How can I make this adjustment? All right, well, you know, Night Sister's life, and she fixes shit. But we have to cut somebody. So we cut Yellow. It's like, oh, fuck, you know, Lucy doesn't like you, and cheat. Friends in high places. But that was all stuff you could live without. Made the adjustments, and then voila, some fucking magic. Shit was great. Tore up stuff, scared the crap out of people for a while. Currently, not so much. A lot of hand hate, and we got the Maul Saber nerf, so it's going to be kind of brutal, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's dead. It's just much harder to play, and I don't know if that's worth it or not. We'll find out. Alright, but that's all I got for you guys today. Honestly Sarcastic with the Hyperloops. Check out the read of the article. Hopefully I say some other stuff that isn't even mentioned in here. And it goes a long way towards, you know, improving you guys' stuff. But yeah, leave comments here in the article, the Facebook page, Reddit too. And hopefully we can start to improve, do some more stuff you guys like, and make everybody happy. Well, not everybody's gonna be happy. That's a fucking lie. That's a goddamn lie. We'll make some people happy and leave some other ones sad. But it'll be better overall. Alright, deuces. Hyperloop out.